What's going on, everybody? All right, so this wasn't the videos I was planning on making today. When I got up this morning, the wind's still blowing a little bit, but nowhere near as bad as it was. When I got up this morning, I literally planned on making 8 or 10 actual shooting videos today. I went to Lowe's, bought some stuff I needed to build some stuff to shoot with, or shoot, actually, not shoot with, but to shoot at. And when I got back, I actually put a video on Instagram, and the wind was blowing so hard, there's no way that you all could have heard me even talking as hard as the wind was blowing earlier. So that threw all my plans for today off, and it was a beautiful day. It was like 60 some degrees, perfect day to go shooting. But the weather just did not care. So what I'm gonna talk about today is, should you modernize your AK? I have a couple AKs here on the table, and we're going to talk about kind of the way I have them set up. Now, I'm a firm believer in modernizing rifles, and I'm going to give you some reasons for that as we go along. But I also want to say, if you want to buy a traditional AK, which neither one of these are traditional AKs, but if you want to buy a traditional AK, wood stock, wood furniture, wood grip, or Bakelite grip, or whatever, and just leave it stock. If you're a collector or something like that, or you just like to have a traditional AK, you know, to go out randomly and shoot and stuff like that here and there, target practice with or something, and you're not planning on using this for a SHTF situation or a home defense or self-defense rifle or pistol, if you choose to do an AK pistol, then that's perfectly okay. If you're wanting it for nostalgia reasons, or you'd like to just have a rifle that looks like the traditional AK, that's okay. That's perfectly okay. I'm not saying anything against that. It's your money, and you can buy what you want. And I agree. There have been AKs that I've owned that were traditional style AKs, and I bought them because of that. But here's where I think you should modernize your AK. If you plan on using one of these guns for, like I said, the SHTF situation, home defense, personal defense, whatever, you should probably modernize these guns. Let me just show you a couple of them I have here on the table. So this is a DDI. It's a Polish DDI. It's not the DDI that they had so much problems with. This was built on a WBP Polish parts kit. And at one time, I did have the optic on this gun, but my Christmas present got the optic. It's supposed to be a better rifle. We'll find out. This has been a great rifle, but we'll find out. I didn't want to spend the money on another optic mount and stuff, and the rail that I'm wanting to put on this gun is what I will probably attach the optic to. So once that happens, the RS Regulate mount will go back to this, and I'll put another optic back on this rifle. So that's why I didn't spend the money for an extra one. But let's go over this. So this has the Magpul stock. I would like to have the Zykov stock, or whatever it's called. You can't find those. I actually bought this yesterday. I had the stock that's on the Arsenal on this one at one time, but I really liked that setup. It was expensive. So I just went back with the Magpul setup. I think this is a better stock, in my opinion, than the wood. I just like the polymer better. It doesn't scratch as easy. I wouldn't think it would break as easy. So I just prefer this. Now, this did have a standard polymer stock on it when I got it, but those are a little short for me, and I still feel like these might be a little bit sturdier than that. So I did go with the Magpul stock. I went with the Magpul grip. But now here's where the modernization really comes into play. I put a Krebs custom rail on this. Now, back when I bought this rail, they didn't have M-LOK rails in Krebs custom. So I put a key mod, because that's all they offered. But this is a key mod Krebs custom rail. And why this is so great is because I believe, and a lot of other people smarter than me on this situation also believe, that every defensive gun should have a weapon light. And I'm 100% wholeheartedly agree with that. A defensive rifle or pistol, or a carry pistol, either way, should have a light on it. Now, I know a lot of people say I carry a light on my person. I do too, and I also still carry one on my carry gun. So, one is none, two is one kind of thing. But by adding this right here, and I know there's other rails, you don't have to buy the Krebs custom, and there probably are ways to attach lights to like traditional wood and stuff like that. But rails like this and the M-LOK rail that Magpul makes and stuff like that, you don't have to buy this expensive a rail. You can buy like a Magpul one that has M-LOK on it. But this makes life so much easier for attaching stuff like Picatinny rail sections, so you can attach a light, or M-LOK, so you can attach it straight to the rail. Also, you can see here I have a QD mount. I can put a QD mount in this, and then all the slings that work for my AR-15s now also work for my AK. I also put an extended safety right here. Just makes life a little easier. You don't have to try to reach way up here and get it. You can just do it with one finger. It makes life way easier having that extension on it right there. Now, do I like this one? This one actually came from AK Operator Union. The only problem I have with this is when I come this way and rack it, you can see my hand actually slides over this extension. Now, on the Arsenal that I just got, I have already put the Krebs custom extended one on it. And if I check it, when I come around, if I come around, I don't hit it. I fumbled that a little bit. I'm more familiar with ARs, okay? I like AKs, but I'm more familiar. I don't hit that with this, and I can still get it one-handed, and I don't have to stretch up. I don't have to come off the grip or anything like that. So I do believe that extended safeties on these are almost a necessity for running these things quick, just because it makes it so much easier. Now, you may disagree, and that's fine. That's totally fine, but I think it does make life a little easier when you don't have to totally bring your hand up here unless you just have crazy long fingers. It is going to make life a little easier. Now, which one of these you use, that's totally up to you. I told you why I like the Krebs a little bit better, but I've also heard people don't like Krebs because they're a little sharper on the bottom, and that's true. When you're pushing this up, it is a little sharper on the bottom, more so than this big flat piece that AK Operators Union has in their store. Now, on this one, I modernized the stock again. I put a Rifle Dynamics M4 adapter, then I put the Magpul stock on it. It is collapsible. I can adjust the length of pull now, whereas I can't with the Magpul or the traditional stock. I can now with this, and that's why I put it on the Arsenal, because Arsenal is supposed to be a better gun. We'll find that out when we start shooting it. I wish I could have went today. You'll also notice I put the RS Regulate on this with an Aimpoint T2. Now, you don't have to buy an Aimpoint T2, obviously. Now, if you're going to mount it up here, like the rail I want for this is an SLR Rifle Works rail. And I will probably mount this T2 on the rail once I get it. And I've heard a lot of people say that you can't mount like Hollisons up here because these gas tubes and stuff get so hot that you can damage the optic. But aim points seem to hold up really, really well. That people don't have a lot of problems. So that's why I went with the T2. When I put this back on this gun, the Hollison will actually go back on this and go back on there, because you don't have to worry about that if you have an RS Regulate mount. But a red dot makes these so much easier to use. Yes, iron sights are great, and you should zero your iron sights. You should know they work. In case your red dot ever does go down, they should be zeroed. That's another video. I will definitely need to zero these because the rear sight's a little bit off. But red dots are almost like cheating. I mean, it makes it easier. If you can have an advantage like that, why not take advantage of that advantage? Go ahead and put some on there that makes your life easier. Now, this just comes with a barrel nut. I actually have a Krebs flash hider on the way. It should have been here like 4 days ago. USPS, baby. It's lost somewhere in the next town over. It didn't even come to me. It came to the next town over. Don't know when it will arrive. But on this one, I have a Midwest Industries brake. Do I suggest brakes? I don't notice a lot of recoil reduction in this brake. And that's the reason I didn't go with a brake on my Arsenal. I went with a flash hider. I would rather have the flash suppression more than I would what little bit of recoil reduction I get out of this brake. There may be better brakes out there, but this one just didn't do it for me. But that is kind of how I would set mine up. I wouldn't go overboard, but I do a rail. Like I said, you can get a short rail like this. The SLR one's going to come out a little further, so I'm going to be able to get my hand out a little further. I do like that. That's why I'm going with it. It is an M-LOK rail. But you need a way to attach a light, and preferably a QD mount for myself. This one, oh, I forgot to tell y'all, this one also has an AKT trigger. Oh my gosh. That's an advantage. This thing has like less than 1.5 pound pull. It's nuts. Now, there's nothing wrong with the trigger in this gun, but this trigger is one of the best triggers I've ever felt. But you don't need a trigger, but I will put an AKT in this one just because of how good these triggers are. But you don't have to do that. In my opinion, to modernize the AK where you can maximize its potential, you need a light. I prefer QD mounts. You don't have to use that kind of sling, but to me, it is nice where I can have slings so I can put on each gun. You also need a way to attach an optic, whether it be the RS regulate mount right here with a red dot, or if you go with the Ultimac rail or the SLR system, whichever way it is, and you mount it up here. Just like I said, remember, if you mount it up here, you need a quality optic. Not saying Hollison's not quality, but I've heard reports of them failing after long periods of time being on the gas tube because they get so hot. Just remember that. I prefer to change the stocks. You don't have to. That's a preference. But to modernize them, lights, optics, especially. And really and truly, like I said before, it's okay to want a traditional AK. I get it. I like the looks of a traditional AK, and I will probably buy one at some point in time and leave it like that. But if these are rifles that you are going to defend yourself or your house with, why not give yourself the max potential of the gun and make it more easier to use for you? Because if you're ever in a situation where you need one of these, God forbid that ever happen. I hope that never happens to any of us. But if we're ever in that situation, you want every advantage you can get to make that a successful situation for yourself. I appreciate you all watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.